Hey folks, Lee here once again. Hope the lighting in my room is okay. Let me get some water. Oh, drinking my Darth Vader cup again. Anyway guys, welcome back to another video. Continue with my Superman marathon. Hope you enjoyed my last video last night. The quick update pickups 40 video. Hope y'all enjoyed that. And now, continuing with my Superman marathon. Of course, I've been in Smallville. Now, I am giving my thoughts on favorite episodes. This video is called My Thoughts on Favorite Episodes of Smallville Season 5. Yes. Which I think ran from 2005 to 2006. I think this is also the year, 2006 also the year Superman Returns came out. So, yeah. Yep, Smallville Season 5. Give it the cover and everything. Yep. That is Lex, well, as the vessel for Zod and Luthor. I'll explain that a little later, but, yeah. Well, what I thought of this season, just to give you a quick thought about it, is I enjoyed Smallville Season 5, yes. Do I think it's better than Season 4? Yes, in my opinion. I think it's just as good as Season 1 and 2, probably like it more than Season 3. But I really enjoyed Smallville Season 5. This is definitely one of my top 5 favorite seasons of the show. This season is where Chloe ends up finding out his secret, Lionel Luthor does, and this season is also the death of Jonathan Kent. So, you know, but I'll explain more into that later. But Smallville Season 5 is really good. I do have a list of my favorite episodes of this season. So I wrote them down. Just a bank card. Sorry, for my bank. But yeah. But I wrote it down here. No, this ain't the whole list. This has been the other seasons, but I wrote down my favorite episodes of Smallville Season 5. So 2 minutes in, I guess I'll go ahead and get started. Alright, just remember that this is my list. You know, you can tell me in the comments down below what your favorite list. I want to definitely go in depth though and talk about Smallville because I love the show. I've always enjoyed watching it. So anyway, starting with my favorite episodes of Smallville Season 5. I hope y'all enjoy. Alright, starting with the pilot episode, one of my favorite episodes, starting with Arrival. Arrival is the pilot episode of Smallville Season 5. Oh, wait a minute, before I get into that, this series, Season 5 basically deals with the aftermath of the read about what the season is about. I'm sorry, I should have done it before. Season 5 deals with the aftermath of the second meteor shower. Plot deals with adult life, being in college, going to college, a real relationship with Lana, and the loss of someone he loves. His distrust for Lex continues to grow as Clark's Professor Fine, aka who we find out later is Brainiac, one of Superman villains in the comics, begins supplying him with evidence to Luthor's secret project. Clark looks to Chloe for support, while Lana's transformation into a better person draws skepticism from everyone. Jason Aqua, who played Jason T, of course, is not on the show anymore. Every nurse becomes a serious regular, so you see her in the opening. And you have Aquaman and Cyborg basically being introduced in this season, their characters as well. Because last in Season 4 was when we saw Barry Allen, or Bart Allen, the Flash. So, anyway, like I said, my first favorite episode is Arrival. Pretty much this is where Season 5 left off, where the second meteor shower happens. Beginning where Clark is in the Fortress of Solitude, where, you know, the season starts with Clark throwing the crystal, being in the snow, and the Fortress of Solitude builds it, and Jor-El's like, "Welcome home, my son," and he's transporting all the Kryptonian knowledge into Clark's brain, basically, like, kind of like, you know, he's got Clark in this computer system, you know, giving all this knowledge, and of course Chloe follows him there, and Chloe being there accidentally walks up to him, and she gets forced. She's like, "Clark, save me, Clark, save me." He's like, "Clark, I know you run super speed," and Clark tells her, she basically tells Clark, "Clark, I know your secret, I've known it for a year." "Well, how did you know?" "Well, Clark, when I saw you, if y'all remember Season 4, when Alice Baker, who can turn, well, she can, in a blink of an eye, not just disappear, but she can, kind of like the character Nightcrawler, transport herself anywhere." And that's where Chloe saw her powers. Like, Chloe's like, "Well, Chloe, I'm sorry I never told your secret. I'm sorry." She's like, "Clark, I understand. Loose lips sink ships. I understand. But I will let you know this: my lips, will always be sealed, and I will never reveal your secret. I always protect your secret. Lex was also in the Waukee Caves, and he's like, Chloe, where you at, Chloe? And Lana, sorry, I just go over my videos. Lana, who has been injured, basically sees this spaceship comes out, and see two Kryptonians who are, of course, disciples of Zod. These cops show up to arrest them, but they use their powers just like Clark. They use their heat vision, they kill some of the cops, and when Lana go, they decide they want to go find Kal-El, Clark, basically. The Superman's real name, Kal-El. And Jonathan and Martha, after being held hostage, and the meteor shower coming in, which killed Jason T, the Lois shows up to find them, and, Martha's passed out, but they take her to the hospital. Then the two Kryptonians show up. They choke Jonathan, they attack him, and they even, of course, Lois and her smart wisecrack mouth, gets strangled by the woman Kryptonian. And, Clark decides to go save, that's what I was talking about, the Kryptonian scene. When Clark goes to take Chloe to the hospital, basically Jarrell makes a deal with him. It's like, you better return by sunset, or else, you see my warning, You had to return to learn your Kryptonian knowledge, and all that. Clark even says, runs into Lex when he's trying to look for his parents, he's like, Clark, how'd you get here to here? He's like, well, Lex, you find me suspicious, and their distrust starts to grow here a little bit. But Clark starts saving people. He starts using his ability. I think he saves a little boy, as well, by using his powers. Eventually, Lana goes to the hospital and says, I know where Kal-El is at, but pretty much when last time when Lionel passed out, Lionel has actually become a vessel for Jarrell, basically. His eyes are turned white, and he's just writing down Kryptonian symbols. He tells Lana their home is their only weakness. Basically shows up the Kryptonite and Lex's vault. Lana takes them there, and they start to try to kill Lana, and Clark shows up. He's like, yes, I'm Kal-El. He's like, now what do you want? He's like, Kal-El, we want you to help support us. We want your help to make this country, to make this world a utopia. He's like, in a world of peace. He's like, I've seen your world of peace. I'm not going to let you kill any other people, because they killed some people already. We thought so. So they have this Kryptonian symbol or whatever. Looks like it's the shape of an orzagon, and they throw it at Clark and try to send him to the Phantoms. They're like, okay, well, that's done. But Clark is able to jump out of it and grab the lady and pushes her in, and then pushes the guy in there. So, and basically Clark did not return. So he's like, Lonnie, you okay? And he gets cut on his hand, and pretty much what Jarrell does is take his powers away. And after Mark is sent home, he tells Jonathan and Mark that things are going to be normal around here. He's like, my powers are gone. But Clark is actually happy about it. He's like, well, I've always wanted to be normal, and he just has to get into a relationship with Lana. He goes talk to her, and, because last time they saw each other in season 4, he said that she loved him. So they have a talk, and, they finally start dating again and get back together. And at the end of the episode, pretty much Brainiac, or Professor Fine, as you know in Smallville season 5 right now, comes out of the ship because Lana saw this ship. She does tell Lex, but Lex doesn't believe her, but Lex's company, Lex's scientists grab the ship and they put it in a place called Warehouse 15, I believe. Yeah. But the ending of the episode was good, seeing Professor Fine, Brainiac coming out of it. So it's gonna know what you're in for in this season, so, But anyway, that was Unravel. Good episode. Weird. Okay. Unravel. And now, this thing is called Mortal. in this episode, Clark does have a relationship with Lana. They're rebuilding the camp farm. You see, well, pretty much at the end of the Unravel episode, Lionel is in Belle Reve, basically, just, tied up like a crazy person, basically, because he's writing these symbols down, and Lex wants to know asking his father, what does the symbols mean? But, of course, he won't talk at all. But Lex runs into these power beings. This guy named Tommy Lee, who I guess has the power of electricity, where he can control electricity kind of like this. And basically he escapes, and while Clark and Lana are basically about to do this, when they talk about, their past relationships, Clark's with Alicia's and her with Jason that they've never had sex before, even though they're both virgins. But before they can do anything, Tommy Lee and the two twins show up, who, they have we speak each other, they can build a force shield and attack you when they attack Clark, because remember, Clark has no powers. They hold him hostage, and Tommy Lee tells Clark that he wants, he talks about level 3 in Luther Corp. That he wants this drug or whatever out of Luther Corp. And basically Lex has to get help of Chloe, but with no powers, and Jonathan and Martha show up, and they attack them. The sheriff shows up. She does find it suspicious because she knows that Lana doesn't smoke, and Jonathan, because of his heart condition, doesn't smoke. And the twins build up a force shield, and Clark is calling Tommy Lee and telling him, I'm going to get your system. They try to get the drug, or they basically try to pretend like they have it in a suitcase. Clark comes up with a plan and actually defeats Tommy Lee and kicks his ass. Punches the guy out, even without his powers. That was pretty cool. And he saves the day. But at the end, Chloe tells him that it was all orchestrated by Lex because somebody was watching. Clark, realizing that his friend had betrayed him, goes to Lex, and Lex is like, Clark, I'm glad you found us okay. And Clark punches Lex in the face, and tells him, Lex, I knew it was you. Chloe had the computer system, you let the guys out, didn't you? You were testing to see if I had any abilities. So he was watching the whole time. And he's like, Lex, I try to be a friend to you, but you're so obsessed with the past. He's like, we're not friends anymore, I'm done with you. Why don't you face me yourself, you coward? And then when Lex punches Clark, he sees blood. Clark's lip, he's like, see? I'm human. And Lex is just, since Lex betrayed him, this is when, in season 1, their friendship pretty much just ends in this episode. So, I like Clark and Lex being friends, as it was, I think, in the comics as well. It was good to see them as friends, but eventually we knew watching the show, Superman fans, we knew that they were going to become enemies sometime, not be friends anymore. But, and a good episode. Definitely enjoyed Moral. And at the end, Clark goes to see Lana. They eventually do make love at the end of the episode. But Moral, good episode. And then another episode called Hidden. Another favorite of mine. A guy named Gabriel Duncan, whose father was a former newspaper worker, but his dad was in the military. He knew how there were missiles, how to activate missiles in the military, and Gabriel kills these two sergeants or something, sergeants or military personnel who are in charge of this big missile, and he kills them, and he says it to blow up Smallville. Calls Chloe and tells that he's going to blow up Smallville, a lot of people are going to die. You find out his reasoning for doing it, though, because his father, because he hates meteor freaks, and Smallville was more infected with them meteor freaks for years, so he thinks if he blows up Smallville and kills everyone there, it'll just be better. But he's just going crazy. Clark, at the beginning, though, Clark and Lana, of course, are in bed together, and they try to get out, and, they walk in, see Jonathan and Martha in the kitchen, and Jonathan's like, know what they did is like, Lana, would you excuse me while I need to talk for my son for a minute? He's like, Clark, I don't think I need to have this discussion with you, but I guess I do. He's mad, and Chloe's like, Lana just rushed to here, like, that's all. I was like, she's like, oh. But anyway, Chloe talks to Clark about what Gabriel did. They go to his father's house to see how much about the missiles he's known, about why he's doing this. To see that he shot his own father. And he tells her that he had to, that his dad asked him to. Which I don't think so. I just think he up there and went crazy and murdered his dad, but that's just me. But Gabriel, Clark and Chloe set him up. Chloe says that she has car trouble, that she hit a dog or whatever, and he's like, because he's pretty much the only person that he trusts. Again, Clark doesn't have his powers at all. He's not mortal, human. And so Clark's trying to convince Gabriel, you don't need to do this. This isn't necessary. He's like, yes, Clark, it is necessary. He pulls his gun out and he shoots Clark right in the chest. Right here, and Clark just passes out. And the doctor's trying to save him. Lana's distraught and upset. And Clark dies pretty much until the vessel of Jarrell, that's in Lionel, breaks out of Belle Reeve and comes and saves him. And basically gives him his powers back. Jarrell said, hello, my son. I saved you when the time was right. I have warned you, not because of you disobeying me, because of what you've done here. Somebody you live close to you will die. I don't know if he tells him that before, but Lana says, I saved you when the time was right, and I won't do it again. And you need to go save it. And Gabriel, who has Chloe hostage, Chloe and him have a fight. Even though he sets up the missile array, Chloe accidentally kills Gabriel in defense. They fight over the gun and shoots him. The missile goes off, and Chloe's like, no, Clark's dead, so all's lost. And Clark, who has his powers back, uses super speed, jumps on the missile. It goes pretty much to space on Earth. Before it can destroy Smallville, he's able to get the system out of it, break it, and of course, push it to space where it blows up and it kills nobody. Clark comes back and he's like, Mom, Dad, I didn't want my powers back, but I got it. They say, well, Clark, maybe just had to happen for a reason. And, Lana sees him again, Lana gives him a hug. So, but hidden, good episode. Yeah. I guess it's just an episode where Clark have learned that, hey, he always needs his powers, he always has to be the hero, because that's who he is. Alright, another favorite of mine, called Aqua. Yep. This is, of course, where we meet Arthur Curry, who is, of course, Aquaman, where Clark and Lana, Chloe and Lois, they're at the beach, just having a fun day at the lake. Lois, tries to go for a swim. She hits her head, I think, like on something in the water. She hits her head with a log or something. Clark tries to go swim and save her, but Arthur AC, they call him, shows up in the water and saves her. And, Lois, after giving her CPR, she becomes very attracted to him. He tries to teach Lois how to swim. I'd like to know when he's wearing, of course, the Aquaman is known for wearing orange and green. Orange shirt and green pants, basically that's what his costume is, his superhero costume is. And Lois making this wisecrack joke is like, that whole thing you go on there with the green and orange shirt, it looks like Flipper threw up. I just thought that was funny. And she teaches him how to swim. He just knows how to swim. They kind of flirt with each other a bit. And he has this howl beating going in his ear where he can't hear nobody. Where basically you find out that Lex is doing this operation at Luther Corp. That, Lex, this manufacturing, it's a weapon that is under the water and that's killing fish. It's killing the humane life, basically, marine life. And Lex doesn't care, But Lex, I forgot to mention though, in the Mortal episode, tells Lana, Lana's like, there's nothing, Clark is just normal, he's fine. And Lana, Lex tells Lana, Lana, depending on what you think, a normal person just doesn't come back from the dead. It's impossible. But anyway, in episode Aqua, it's just, because Lex wants to do money for it. And, Clark is a professor of his class. At first he comes to us like, Mr. Kent, finally glad you shot that journalist, and they talk about history, and he talks about how much he doesn't like Professor Huffine goes over how he doesn't like Lex Luthor and what his projects do, and he says, he's basically just doesn't trust Lex Luthor, and Clark defends him, and pretty much, AC and Clark decide to go talk to Lex about it. First he insults Lex, and Lex is like, I'm sorry, who are you? Try talking to me like that? He's like, Clark is like, Lex, I defended you. He was like, because he said that you were the devil, basically. He was like, just tell him about my pitchfork. He's like, I defended you, and he calls, I think, Lex a tool or whatever. Anyway, pretty much AC who's been destroying these weapons, is shot by a dart, passed out, and he has no water. No water if he doesn't, if Aquaman has no water, I guess, he has no strength. But him and Clark, he's about to blow up the plant or whatever, and Clark basically stops him from doing that. They have a little fight in the water. He beats Clark, but Clark is like, boy, you could have killed somebody. Well, you know what, I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect my home. It was like, but you ain't going to do it by hurting innocent people. But, when AC gets caught by Lex, Lex has this water, he's like this, last time we spoke, you called me to it, now, like I'm worried about you dying. That's where you see Lex's dark side, and him kind of just telling him, he's like, if I give you this water, you'll probably break out of the strength. So, no, I'm just going to let you die. Like, please don't do this. So, like, please, Lex, don't do this. Don't kill the fish. He's like, oh yeah, that'll change my mind. Okay. Clark shows up, breaks the sprinklers out, and it hits AC, and he gets his strength back, and him and Clark team up, and they go destroy the weapons, and basically it throws Lex's money down the drain, making Lex mad, wondering who did this. He has his suspicions, but he doesn't really know if it's Clark or not. But the actor who played Aqua in this episode, Allison Richardson, he was okay in my opinion. He's alright, but I think I prefer Jason Momoa to be better. But overall, it was a good episode. It was definitely enjoyable. At first, when Lois, Clark is kind of being rude to him at first. Lois is like, what are you doing? I don't need a protective brother. And at the end of the episode, Clark is, Lois is like, well, I'm going to meet a good guy like that again. And Clark's like, well, Lois, you'll meet a good guy like that, one day. But Aqua was a good episode in my opinion. Definitely enjoyed it. I like how they brought Aquaman in here. Okay, Aqua. Alright, another third episode of mine. It's called Exposed. Yes, this is where we have Tom Wopat cameo. Tom Wopat guest stars in the episode. Now, if y'all are out there who are like me, if you're a fan of the Dukes of Hazzard, Tom Wopat and John Schreiner were both with Duke in the Dukes of Hazzard TV show. So, and they even have the 1969 Dodge Charger. Now, it's not the General, it's blue, but it's still the 1969 Dodge Charger they drive in the episode. Pretty much, he plays Senator Jack Jennings, who, of course, is a senator. He's an old friend of Jonathan's. He's basically up for re-election as being a senator, but this girl who calls Chloe, call girl, basically, or stripper girl, basically, she's basically just murdered. A car runs her over, and you find out that she was a murderer, and there's a connection to her and Jack Jennings, that Jack Jennings spent his time at some strip clubs and fell in love with that girl, but he lies to Jonathan about it, because Lex Luthor comes to him and is like, well, maybe you don't know your friends as well as you think you do. And Jonathan does not trust Lex at all, but when he looks at the numbers of him calling, this is the moment I like where it reminds me of these guys when Jonathan and Jack go for a ride in the Dodge Charger, just ride around town, cruising around town, and it kind of like the old Dukes of Hazzard days. I'm like, okay, that was cool. That was a really nice night to Dukes of Hazzard. Jonathan's like, Jack, why didn't you tell me you knew the girl? I was like, well, I didn't want you to, be involved in this. I'm sorry. And he's basically been like an Uncle Jack, and Clark gets the episode trying to prove that Jack is innocent, But basically, my favorite part of this episode is where, oh my God, Lois Lane stripping. Yeah, she was definitely sexy. God bless America, I would say. But anyway, Clark gets an invitation from Lex on this, And he sees Lois, and he's kind of uncomfortable by it. Maybe part of him likes it, he just can't admit it. But, they have to work, doing undercover work. The cops show up, trying to arrest them and put them in jail. But Lois gets caught by one of those guys, this Russian guy or whatever, who tries to kidnap her. Lois can hear him, so she kicks this guy's ass until one of the security men knocked her out. They go and take her on a helicopter, ship her away. Basically, you can say, I guess, sell her as a prostitute. But Clark comes in time just to save her. Is able to use a rope using his powers to pull the plane down. And he does save her. Lois knocks the guy out. They try to send him to the jail, but he has this, I don't know, invasive demeanor, I don't know, where basically on American oil, if he commits any crimes, even murder, they can't arrest him. Diplomatic immunity, yeah. And Lois is like, oh, okay, but Lois is like, whacks him, which I thought was funny. And at the end of the episode, Chad Jennings, who was cleared of all charges against this girl's murder, tells Jonathan, you should run for senator. You'd be better than me. We need an honest man here. And he decides to retire. But that was nice family for Tom Wolfpack. It was good to see him in this episode. And good to see, the Dodge Charger back. And of course, my favorite part was probably Lois in the bikini, stripping them up. Every doing this, yeah. Lana is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I think Lois is just better looking. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, good episode, and it definitely reminded me of, it was a nice throwback episode to Dukes of Hazzard as well, if you're a fan of Dukes of Hazzard show like me. It was just a nice throwback in my opinion. Alright, another favorite episode of mine is called Splinter. This is where Clark is exposed to new kind of kryptonite. He visits Lana and her college, and Lana gets sent this gift by Lex. Basically, it's a thing called silver kryptonite. Clark gets cut by it. And this kryptonite makes him suspicious of people. People are betraying him. First, driving on his way back, I think, to home. Basically, he thinks some guy in a truck is chasing him and calls him, knowing about his. He's like, I know your secret. And Clark, throughout the episode, thinks that Chloe's sending messages about his secret to Lionel, telling her her secret, thinking if he can really trust her. He sees that his parents, since Jonathan is going to be running for senator, the state of Kansas is going to be running for senator of Kansas is talking to Lionel. Lionel, he thinks that Lionel's paying him, that he's selling a secret out. Clark goes crazy and starts attacking Martha and Jonathan. And Jonathan didn't say this, but I guess in his mind, Jonathan says, you were never really my son. You're just some boy I found in a cornfield. And Chloe shows up with a kryptonite to stop her, like, Clark, stop it. You can't do this. And then Jonathan and Martha are like, Chloe, how long are you with Clark? I've known for a good while now, for a good year or so. And he's like, but I never told a secret to anybody. And he's like, what are we going to do with this kryptonite? Well, the ring won't kill him. Red kryptonite. Chloe's like, red kryptonite? Well, Clark loses inhibitions. Basically, he becomes, like a bad guy, basically, like an evil. Basically, red kryptonite will turn Clark evil, basically. But this silver kryptonite, affects him in different ways. Clark also has a vision in the episode, of a fear of, he sees, clearly, Lana and Lois have been working in the season so far to find, the ship. Basically, the ship that she saw in the beginning. They're talking about working on it together. And he sees them kissing in Clark's division mind. It doesn't happen for real in this episode, but he envisions it, and then he envisions, Clark Kent's an alien, Lex's voice saying, Clark Kent's an alien. He'll be tied up like a freak, trying to experiment, and that puts fear in Clark. And he sees Lex in his vision saying, Lex Luthor saying to him, I'm the one that's going to kill you, Clark. And they use the green kryptonite. And like I said, when Clark sees Lana doing this, and her looking at him like, kind of like, I love Lex, and basically gets mad and is like, attacks Lex and is going to kill Lana, almost kills her until I think Chloe shows up or whatever, uses this kryptonite to get him better. Or I'm sorry, no, it was Professor Fine shows up and basically stabs him with this dagger or whatever. It's like a kryptonite dagger, and it gets Clark out of his mind, and he, stabs him out of his mind out of the kryptonite. But and of course, Jonathan is running against Lex Luthor for senator. Fine tells Clark that he's here to help him stop what's coming. Basically, there's a threat coming, and that he's going to help him. There might be Luthor, and Lex, Clark says to help him. He's like, "But you're Kryptonian too?" He's like, "Yes, I'm from Krypton." And know your name, Kal-El. But Splinter was a good episode. I never knew about Super Kryptonite until this episode, so it's interesting to see different effects that Kryptonite can have on Superman and Clark. Alright, and the next episode, my favorite episode, is an episode called Solitude. Pretty much in the episode, Vinyl asks Chloe to investigate Fine's powers. Martha gets sick in this episode, and he only turns to Fine for help. And Jonathan doesn't very much trust him, and she has to use a green kryptonite rock, and Clark is willing to do whatever it takes to save his mom, so he trusts Fine. Trust Fine. He trusts Professor Fine, and she's like, Clark, even if you do lose me, if I do die, I'll always be with you in your heart. Yeah, this is a sad moment there, but will and save her. He takes Professor Fine to the Fortress of Solitude, where you find out that, of course, he is not Kryptonian, but he was created by them. Basically, he's a machine, or kind of like robot, but basically that's what brand is, a machine. He's the green Kryptonite, and gets the Phantom Zone to try to, basically attacks the fortress and tries to bring General Zod out. And General Zod, what would he do was pretty much like try to rule the planet. And he's like, oh hell for Zod, until Clark is able to, thanks to help with Chloe, get out of it, and him and Fine fight a little bit. Him and Professor Fine fight in the Fortress of Solitude until, he gets stabbed by the crystals, basically killing him as we think, but he's really not dead. But even though he blames Jarrell on it, tries to get him turned against Jarrell. The spaceship disappears. Basically, we're Lex and Lana are not happy about that. Yeah. But overall, Solitude was a good episode. I like how we saw his true nature come out, and first finds the guy you seem like you think you can trust, and James Marsden, I think, does a really good job in the part. Thinking you can really trust the guy, but you really find out that you can't trust him, and that he's basically an artificial intelligence, basically a machine. That's what Brainiac is. Yeah. But in this season, in the Smallville version of the character, he basically served as Zod. So, General Zod. But good episode overall. Another favorite of mine. I talked about this episode in the video called my top 25 favorite Christmas movies and some episodes of TV shows. I think it was like 5 of them, but this is one of them. Anyway, this is one of my favorite episodes of Smallville Season 5, and that is Likeimus. This is where Lex, who was considering running for, running for senator against Jonathan Kent, thinks about hiring this guy to get some dirt on the Kents so he can damage information so he can, become senator. But he's not saying, I'm not up to. He's like, what, Clark? He's like, well, she got Harley Blues, and Lex is like, no, I just want to, think before I consider my options. Then Lex is mugged by these people, and they give him his car, but this girl, shoots him. And, well, instead of dying, Lex kind of gets it's a Wonderful Life type scenario, basically like the Family Man scenario, kind of, where he wakes up in bed, and he's in bed with Lana, and Lana's pregnant. He's like, and he basically has a son. He's like, what's this? And he's like, oh, and he was like, all right, well, we gotta get ready to go. We gotta go pick up a Christmas tree, Daddy. And I was like, yeah, Daddy, you gotta do that, Lex. And Lex is confused what's going on. And he sees the ghost of his mother telling him, Lex, this is what your life could be, because the choices you're making now, the dark path you're going, it'll just end you for life. This dark path you're going is not good, but if you choose this path, you can have a better life, Lex. A better life, This is what your life could be if you make the right choices. But meanwhile, Clark during the episode plays Santa. Basically, he delivers gifts around the shops, and little girl looks at Clark and says, "Yeah, Santa." Yeah, and he bursts the head. I was like, "No, that guy's Santa." And Clark talks to basically Santa Claus, tells him, Santa, "Why are you up here on the roof drinking?" He's like, "Christmas is over, Spirit is over, nobody believes no more." And he tells him about Lana, so the girl that you look through your eyeglass, smile on, basically was stalking. He's like, "I wasn't stalking, you're just looking, okay." But Clark, and since you took time off your night, of your girlfriend, because it was him and Lana's first Christmas together, so because little Chloe asked him for help. So you with Chloe are just doing what he's like, "Well, maybe I can help you out." He is like, "Christmas is back," and he falls over the cliff, but Clark, using his super speed, saves him, and Sudan's like, "Whoa." And he talks to Chloe, and then he disappears, like this apparently was Santa Claus. But anyway, Lex during this time, goes to see his son. Apparently him and Clark are best friends again. Jonathan, the senator, because Lex gave it up. Lex finds out that after he was shot, that his father, Lionel, gave him up. It was like, you're not just a Luther anymore. You're not a Luther anymore, so I don't want nothing to do with you. Just cuts Lex off completely, so Lex has a budget, not to overspend. And, Lex buys the Christian. He tells Lana, he's like, "Lana, look, I've always wanted to buy a Christian. At my house, we never had Christmas because my dad didn't allow it. Never had any fun. Never had a spirit of Christmas at all, so I want that." And Lana, it's not, "Yeah, okay, we'll do it, You tell me that every year." But during a camp Christmas party, Lana passes out, basically goes to have a baby until she passes out, and basically is getting ready to die. And he tries to ask Lana for help, and I was like, "Well, you betrayed me, son. You refuse to be a Luther anymore, so I'm not going to help you. It's your problem." Yeah, and he dies, and Lex just doesn't want to deal with this anymore. He's like, and Mother comes to him, "Well, Lex, you just have to learn to deal with pain." He's like, "Deal with life without Lana? You just can't deal with it." But eventually Lex is able to come back to life, because during the episode, Clark can't walk. Not Clark. Lex, Lionel sends him to his hospital, Metropolis doctors, to work with him because Lex won't walk. Lex can't walk, so Lionel tells the doctor, "No, my son is going to walk, doctor. My son is going to walk." And he might not have survived the seizure, but he does. When he wakes up, though, his father's like, "Lionel, Lex, I got you the best care ever." He's like, "How dare you play God with my life? How dare you do that to me? I could have died." And he's mad at Lionel for it. But Lionel's like, "Well, you're my son. I'll do anything to save you." And at the end of the episode, Lex is talking to the guy that he wants about blackmailing, about trying to damage the information. But Lex eventually tells the guy, he tells him, you know what true happiness is? He's like, no, he's like, that for me, that's money and power. Money and power. He's like, I want you to do everything. So Lex did not change his heart, didn't change his mind, basically. And this is where he starts going to his dark side, where he tells the guy, I want you to get everything dark on, everything incriminating against Jonathan Kent. Do whatever it takes to throw him out of the race, And since he chose his path, he was looking at the window, and you see like his vision of his mother disappointed him for choosing his dark path, basically, that Lex has chosen. But overall, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it, overall. It was interesting to Lex that Lex could have happened, but since we all know Lex Luthor is a villain in the comics, Superman villain, we know that he's gonna, turn evil, basically. Alright, another favorite episode of mine is called Lockdown. these two cops who were Greg Flynn and Greg and Harris, who there were these two cops that saw the second meteor shower. I think Clark and Lana have a bit of a fight over it, but Lana comes to see to see Lex about it. Lex gets held hostage by these cops. They shoot him down he's working with, and they said Lex is like, you can't get him. Lex is like in his security role. It's locked up. He's like, well, Luther, I'll find a way in there. The sheriff comes, and the sheriff who was in season 2, basically they shoot and kill her. Yeah, but you find out, when Lana shows up, they kidnap her. It's like, you better open it, Luther. And instead, Lana and Lex are able to fight against them. When the guy shoots Lex. Just shoots Lex, I think, right here. And this is where Lex and Lana start to grow close. It's like, how would I look with hair? She kind of laughs about that. And, it's hard to know how lucky he is, Clark has a nice set of hair. Does he know how lucky of a guy he is to have a girl like you? And basically she's like, Lex, calm down. And Lex, I need you. He's like, you need to save his life, because, I know I got you with that bullet. And Lex, she says, I'll take you to Warehouse 15. I'll show you where the spaceship is at, because that's what they want to know. Apparently you find out, when Clark and Chloe find out, that this guy, when he saw the second meteor shower happen and these Kryptonians like him destroyed everybody, he tries to tell these psychiatrists about it, but they think he's crazy. They lock him up because he's got this bad injury on his hand that's burned, and they decide to use the C4 to blow it up, destroy it once and for all. But it's not there, because when Fine got killed in the Solitude episode, the spaceship went with him, basically. And they try to blow it up. They pass out Lana. I forget what happens to them. I think they get arrested, though. And Clark, using his super speed, saves Lana from almost dying in there. But there's also a security camera that sees him in there, which I'll explain a little later. But Lockdown was a good episode, and you see where this is an episode where Lex and Lana eventually grow closer. Another favorite episode of mine, especially one of the best episodes of Smallville in my opinion, called Reckoning. Clark, who's been in a relationship with Lana for a while, the relationship has been descendant because he doesn't want to have sex with Lana, because, he's afraid because of his powers he could hurt her. And to protect her, he doesn't want to tell her secrets. It's not that he doesn't trust her, but it's just not easy for him to be with someone that can know his abilities, I guess. But he finally decides to tell Lana. He takes Lana to the fortune teller, tells him about who he is. He's like, Lana Lane, will you marry me? And of course she does say yes later in the episode. And this is where Jonathan eventually, who, thanks to the help of, Lois, who's been his campaign manager, and, Lionel did give him some money as Lois used it, but Jonathan's not very happy about them using money for him, because he just doesn't trust Lionel. I forget, Lionel was trying to talk to him about something, but I forget, maybe about his campaign, but Jonathan just doesn't trust Lionel, because if you notice, you've seen about, I think it was season 3, where the history of where Jonathan did want to trust Lionel, and because of that, Lionel, blackmailed him, basically tricked him, and, basically just decided not to never trust Luther again. That's why he doesn't trust Lionel. And he doesn't like that, she took money from it. Pretty much, you could say Martha did it behind his back, but she did it for him, but she doesn't really want him to run because of his heart condition. But Jonathan wins. Lana and Clark decide to get married, and Lex calls Lana about him being upset. And he's drinking, and he's drunk. And he tells Lana, you've been liking to be with Clark for a while. He's special, isn't he? Or something about it, like, but Lana doesn't really secret. There's nothing special about Clark. And Lex loses it and grabs her, like, don't say that! There's something about him! There's something about him, like, then, Clark, he throws water. He throws his, he throws his water glass into the fire in his fireplace. He's like, Lana, I'm sorry. And Lana gets hit by a bus and killed. Clark upset about this, tries to change the fate. He's like, Clark, and Jor-El's like, Kelly, like I told you, someone will die close to you. Someone very much loved will die. And no matter how much you change the fate, Jor-El tells Clark, no matter how much, Kelly, you try to change fate, the universe will find a balance and it'll find a different way of handling things. In this case, it does. He goes back in time. He does save Lana. But Jonathan, who earlier, in the other time, and now in this new time change, still gets a call from Lionel. Lionel wanted to talk to him. Basically, that he might know something. And Jonathan comes to him and is like, Lionel looks up, is like, hello, Senator. And then, Jonathan takes his jacket and is like, why don't you come, just his jacket off, is like, why don't you come down here, you son of a bitch, it's like, he really says that, and Lionel's like, ooh, careful, Senator, you might not want to act like that in public, might be bad for your reputation. He's like, I know a secret here. He tries to be like his allies, he says, but Lionel shows him the picture of Clark, I guess saving Lana, I'm guessing, and if we make a deal, and Jonathan just loses it and punches Lionel and kicks him around a bit, and he's like, I'm not gonna let you destroy this family, and starts punching him a bit more. Then after that, he tells him, that's what separates the cancer from the Luthor, is that we have each other, we trust and love each other. That's what separates the cancer from the Luthors. He's like, now you get out of here, because of his heart condition. Martha and Clark show up home, and Jonathan sees them. They just see him as they're flashing on the white car, and he lights on the car, and they say, Jonathan. Jonathan's like, Jonathan, and Jonathan, they get up, and then he just Jonathan doesn't say nothing, just looks at Martha and smiles, kind of like saying, this is where, an interview on YouTube. By the way, there's an interview on YouTube where you can find it where John Shannon talks about Smallville, saying basically that when the moment when he looks at Clark, and he looks at Jonathan, just looks at Martha first and then Clark, basically saying like, I love you and goodbye, and then when Jonathan looks at him, Jonathan just passes out and dies of a heart attack. And Clark, I think I remember feels guilty, but there was a later scene where he tries to take Jonathan's body to Jor-El's like, bring him back. And he's like, he kills Clark before, he's like, but when he tries to change for Lana's death, change fate of Lana's death, change the fate of Lana's death, he tells him, we are not gods, we can't do that, But, you have a funeral at the end, but this is where also Clark and Lana decide to kind of just need a break from each other's relationship. Clark, upset over his father's death, just loses it. They have a talk, and he's like, it's my father's death. And we're like, no, Clark, he's so proud of the man you become, and they kind of give each other a hug. It made me cry. Yeah. Because you see Jonathan all these seasons, and you see much of how good a father he is. It's just sad to see him go. But I think we know in the comics and stuff that Jonathan can't, like in the Superman movie, would eventually die of a heart attack. Yeah. But because of, the good morals, the right from wrong that he taught Clark, that good spirit that he taught into Clark would help him eventually become the man he is, Superman. But really great episode in my opinion, very good. Another favorite episode of mine is called Vengeance. This is where Clark kind of bottles up his grief. He drops out of college. His mom, I need to be here. He won't talk to nobody about his father's death until his mom, Martha, is mugged by these muggers, and they slap her as well. But until this girl shows up calling herself Vengeance, you find out her name is really Andrea, because they have Clark's dad's watch, and he wants to find his dad's watch, so he goes with her to talk to these guys, and they say, Jonathan, 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 and Jonathan, 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 And then Clark's like, come on. Clark's able to use his super hearing to hear this guy call, I think it does call Snake or something, I don't know, I forget his name. Name Snake. And Clark wants to shut down the motor, just to use his temper against it. And he goes fight with this girl a little bit, but he's able to follow her, and she tells him about how she got his powers, that she keeps her kryptonite rock, which weakens Clark. And Clark being angry, they eventually track down the watch, and Chloe's like, Clark, you're going to do something you regret. You're going to probably do something you regret, and Clark not listening, just super speeds away. And he goes attacks this guy, and Clark, getting so angry, and revenge instead of telling him, do it, kill him. Clark is very close to having this guy around, and almost nearly kills this guy. Instead, like Clark says, eventually he heard his father's voice that don't do it soon, because of the good morals that Jonathan taught him, decides it's not right to kill the guy. And instead, Vengeance Andrea uses the kryptonite rock and basically tells the guy who she is, and finally get rid of the guy. She stabs him. Excuse me. But she stabs him, and Clark's like, no, but of course she's running. She disappears. Martha decides to take Jonathan's place and the senator, so she herself becomes the new senator for Kansas. Lana eventually finds the watch for Clark and apologizes how he's been acting, but they're of course still on the break of their relationship. Clark comes to see that his mother is watching a video of her and, of him and, Jonathan when he was a little boy, riding a tractor, and him saying goodbye, with a smile on his face, and Clark starting to cry, and, and his mother, Morgan was confident, they give each other a hug, and they start basically crying in each other's arms, and I thought that was an emotional moment, but Lockdown was really good, in my opinion. And then another favorite episode of mine is called Cyborg. We only got a couple more, guys. 52 minutes in. Cyborg. Basically, Dr. named Dr. Hahn, who basically Victor Stone was a football player. He's basically the Corp. They have him kind of chained up in the lab where he's basically half machine now. And Victor decides to break out. Eventually he runs into Clark. He tries to push Clark at first, but Clark just doesn't feel the pain. And they both, of course, escape out of there. And Clark's like, I'll help you, does your girl Lana know about this? Because Lana nearly runs Victor over, but Victor, doesn't get her from that yet, because being a robot, Clark is able to use X-ray vision and sees that he's half machine. Yeah, and of course he had a girlfriend named Catherine, who doesn't know that. Well, basically, Victor wishes that he would have been dead, with his family. Get his family died in a car crash, but he was a child of this experiment. And you find out that Lex, of course, is involved in it, do everything they can to keep it a secret. And of course, there's more distrust of Lex, basically, from Clark. And before they can do any more damage, Clark breaks him out eventually, and they sort of run out together because he gets injured on his hand. There's a robotic hand gets injured, they fix it. But before they can, do any more damage, Clark comes to save them. I like the moment where they're both running and they both jump down the building. That was cool. And you see him and Clark become good friends, and it's a nice moment seeing him and Catherine, give each other a hug and embrace. She embraces who he is. And you see, Lana and Clark look at each other, which, like, if Lana knew something about Clark, she wished Clark would be more front and honest with her, and if their relationship could be much so better as she would like it to be. Martha, by the way, is also being blackmailed with Clark's secret. She's got this gist that sees Clark saving Lana in Warehouse 15, and you basically find out that Lionel hired this guy, and he's watching on camera. He's like, "Don't worry, your secret is safe with me, Kal-El." And that's when the episode where Lionel finds out his secret. Probably Lionel says that he's actually known the secret since he was a vessel for Jor-El. Beginning in season 5. But anyway, that's Cyborg. Another favorite episode of mine is called Hypnotic, where this woman named Simone Chesterman, who has got this crystal and she uses it to hypnotize Clark. Well, Clark and Lana are talking about maybe being alone, trying to have sex, but Clark just brushes it off, and she's like, "Okay, Clark, I'll be patient with you." But eventually, Clark, when he reveals his secret to this woman, to Simone, she sees Clark uses his power. He's like, "Clark, I want some chocolates, I want a flower, I want some champagne." He runs she's like, "Whoa!" And of course, her and Clark nearly do this. And Lana sees it, and Lana's heartbroken up about it. But you also find out that Lex actually hired this woman to actually break off the relationship with Lana and Clark so he can have Lana for himself. I think he's always planned to do that, because I think he's always... Well, if you've seen season 4, the episode Onyx, give you a clue that he's always wanted a relationship with Lana, always been in love with her. But he goes to find Professor Fine, and he does find Fine, and the jungles are horrendous. When he finds him there, he tells him, "I know your secret." Basically, Lex had another episode I forgot to mention where he had Professor Fine followed, because Lex meets Fine when Fine starts talking to him. They start talking about working together. Fine, kind of like Terminator 2, Robert Patrick, the T-1000 or T-180, whatever the hell he was. I'm not going to look it up right now, but you know what I'm talking about if you've seen Robert Patrick. Yeah, it's not like he has his knife out of his hand, kills a guy, and when Lex tells him, "I know your secret," he's about to kill Lex, and he's like, and he's like, "I work for the government, very secret, and we're trying to do this," so him and Lex have to work together on a virus type situation that he's trying to tap. But you see in the beginning of the episode, Hypnotic, Brainiac, Professor Fine destroys and kills these people, basically. And basically, when you hire someone to do this, Simone doesn't tell her the secret, but Simone just has to use Clark, who has Clark in her control, to kill Lex. He almost succeeds until, Chloe shows up with the Kryptonite to stop him. She tries to use Kryptonite. Simone tries to use her hypnotic crystal on Lex to shoot Chloe, and they fight over the gun. Instead, it shoots Simone instead. Clark tries to apologize to Lana about it, but he said officially just to break up with Lana. And I think at the end of this episode, his mother, Martha, also tells him, well, maybe she just wasn't the one for you, son. He says, "I can't imagine loving anyone else, Mom." He's like, well, maybe it just wasn't meant to be, Clark. But anyway, Hypnotic was a good episode. Alright, another favorite episode of mine is called Void. This is where, after pretty much Clark broke her heart, Lana decides to go meet this guy who is using Kryptonite as a serum, basically to kill people. Well, basically to send you to the other side, the afterlife, and bring you back. But if you do too much, as you find out, this one girl in the episode eventually stays dead. But Lana is able to see her parents. She just looks awful. She looks like a druggie pretty much. She does see her mom and dad. Because remember, in season 1, in that pilot episode, her parents are killed in the meteor shower just when she's a little girl. So she's never been able to see her parents. And she's wanting love, and you see her talk to her parents I did something wrong. I loved him. And of course, she's probably just talking about Clark. and she wants to see her parents more and more. She starts stealing from Lex, and she steals his car, but Lex has a tracker, and Chloe finds out more about it, and Clark tries to talk and says, we need to stop her from doing this. I mean, she's really going to injure herself or even kill herself, because this other girl that's there too does it too much, and eventually when Chloe's able to find out the information from her, this girl dies right away, just dies, coughing up blood, and then just passes away. Before Lana could do that, though, Lex, faces the guy, able to knock him down. Lex can handle a fight, I'll admit that, but he, with his serum, attacks Lex with it. And this is an interesting episode because Lex and Clark find out their future. Basically, Lex basically sees his mother playing the piano in the Luthor mansion, saying, I used to play this for you and Julian, which is, you by my side and Julian as a baby. She's like, Lex, you should have took that chance. Remember the Lexmas episode? She's like, you should have taken that choice. Now you're starting to make all these bad choices. You're going to damage not just your life, but everyone else's. Innocent blood is going to be on your hands. Like, Mom, what innocent blood? What are you talking about? If you remember the first season episode where he has that vision of missiles coming down, and he's like in a place of flowers, and it's like bones and bodies everywhere, and blood raining from the sky. Just look it up if you're a Smallville fan. Just look it up. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen season 1. But, Lex will eventually become president, have the black glove. His mom was like, now that you made this choice, Lex, you're going to do some bad things. You're going to damage people's lives. And she picks up Lex's hand, and he's got a black glove. He's like, Lex, you're going to murder so many, a lot of blood's going to be in hands. The blood is going to be in hands of all the people you're going to murder. It's like, what? Until Chloe brings him back from the dead. And he's like, he tells her about where Lana's at. And Clark, before he tries to, him and Lana try to do something, he uses the Kryptonite serum, which can't weaken Clark. It's Kryptonite, so it weakens Clark. Stabs Clark in the heart, and Clark dies. And this guy tries to kill Lana. I said Lana kills him. It's pretty brutal. I'm like, when he flatlines, when he dies, he pretty much sees Jonathan in the camp barn, telling him, Jonathan, Dad, I'm so sorry. I went back in time and did this. I'm sorry. You're dead because of me. He's like, Clark, don't apologize, son. I was so happy to die for you. It's like, yes, because I love you. I was willing to die for you. It's like, Clark, you're going to change the life of so many people. You're going to be a symbol. You're going to be a hero, basically. Generations of heroes will be looking up to you. You're going to be a great man. He's like, I love you so much, son. He's like, and Clark goes back, he's like, Dad, no. When they go back, he's like, when John says about it, like, I'll always be with you, son. Always. And he also tells him that Lionel knows his secret. He's like, what? And Lionel talks to Chloe about it, about, watching Lionel. And Lionel, who's also been, spending time with Martha, helping her, going all over the senator, taking her to events and all that stuff. They're spending time together. He's kind of become a friend, but Martha tells Lionel, Dad, nothing more out of it, just friendship with you. That's it, just be friends. He's like, okay. Although he tries to talk to Martha for a bit about it. And when he says, goodbye, Clark. Clark might know that he might know a secret, doesn't trust Lionel at all. He did remember when the show started off, he was actually the villain before Lex really becomes a villain. Alright, and another favorite of mine is called Fraggle. Fraggle? I think it's called Fraggle. Fragile, whatever. There's this little girl named Meg Van Horn who basically, she's a little girl that can, control power of glass. Basically, when she gets angry or gets mad with her mind, she can control glass. Her foster mother, gets killed by it, and she was actually a woman that helped Martha become, senator, whatever. Well, basically, just, helped her during her campaign and all that stuff, supported her. And Jonathan, Clark and Martha take her into their house. She's just a quiet little girl until Clark is able to draw a funny picture to make her laugh, and she sees Shelby, and Clark is able to get her to talk, but when Lois comes in, Lois is big mouth, and she doesn't like Lois at first, even Neely gets mad with Lois, and basically child services come by and is like, don't keep her on glass until you find out that her father, this guy who tells, you find out that kidnaps her. Basically, this guy is her father. He was in Belle Reve. When the first meteor shower happened, he was in a place of glass or whatever, worked in a place of glass, and now he has these powers. And you find out that he killed her foster mother. He's killed her real mother. He's killed all the people that she's been around. Lois does get some glass right here, but she ends up being okay. And Clark tries to go save her, and he does, and the guy gets into jail, but this guy who has this couple of glasses on, he's like, nice glasses. He shatters the guy's glasses, kills him. He goes to the camp farm, able to use his powers and abilities to get glass to Martha's throat. He's like, now one move and your mama gets it. And he's like, just bring me my daughter now. And before he tried to kill Clark, Will Rivers like, Clark, man, he's like, I'm not going to let you die, Clark. And he's already feels it. He's like, no, you become him. Just because you're his daughter doesn't mean you have to be like him. And she listens to Clark, gives him a hug, and the guy, of course, is in the jail for good. And Maddie sent to live with her grandmother. Even though she wants to live with Clark, she's about to get mad. And Clark's like, no, Maddie, you can control it. You can control your abilities. Yeah. But that was good. It was a good episode, though. I like, that Superman is a character that would get along with kids and also can help people who are different, because he understands it, because he is different, because he's an alien, basically. And he likes to help. That's just the good natured heart of Superman. Of Clark Kent. Just all people. But it was a good episode overall. Alright, then another favorite episode is mine called Mercy. This is an episode where pretty much Lionel has tried to take over LuthorCorp, but Lex has it because Lex knew that Lex tells Lionel that I know that you kept the secret, that you watched, that you saw Jonathan the night that he died. How Martha can't feel about that, so he gives Lex complete control of LuthorCorp instead of carrying over. This disgruntled employee basically, plays a game and he's like on a computer screen, kind of like this, but wearing a mask, kind of like a foil mask that he has. And he's like, well, you play the game of people's life. People's life are damaged because of you. And he has him playing this hangman game. And before he's hit by this train, Lionel's, just worried about it, like, tells Lex that you try to kill him. He's like, listen, I didn't try to kill you, Dad. Why would I want to kill you? You make our company money. You're a valuable asset. Why would I want to kill you? And Lionel eventually, who has security watching his office, this guy watching his office, eventually, the stranger, the guy that's trying to kill him, basically the masked man tries to, I'm going to call him the hangman. Hangman comes to see him and basically kidnaps Lionel. And, has Lionel go through this game where Lionel finds out that his driver died. He basically has to pick up these waters of liquid, kind of like really hard on his shoulder. He has to walk up here and put it on a hook. So that's what he's walking on. He's like, he's like, you don't know much about me. I grew up in the slums. I grew up how to be tough. It was like, but Lionel was able to get on there and jump out before the fire comes. Next one, basically found out he kidnaps Martha, threatening to kill her until Clark and Chloe find out about it. Lex and Clark have to work together. As like, maybe try to rekindle a friendship, but of course that doesn't happen. But until they see a video where, after they win the game against the psychopath, the hangman, he tries to drown Clark, it was a word puzzle that Lionel had to figure out. I forget, failure was an option. It was something, I forget. But they eventually win. The guy just says, "Only go easily though." He says, "There's a gun in here now. One of you, I'm gonna blow up. If I'll kill you both. Unless one of you shoot each other with a gun." And Lionel picks it up. You think, well, is he gonna kill Martha? And he said, he gives Martha. He goes like, "Martha, just shoot me." And Martha's like, "No, I can't do it. Can't do it." Like, well, Clark is a special boy. He needs you. And Martha, Lex and Clark are watching a video of this. And you see Lex's jealousy somewhat of Clark, I guess. And before, the guy just set the elevator off, he basically is a disgruntled employee named Lincoln Cole who decides to get revenge on Lionel because I guess Lionel did something to him and that made him mad. And Lionel said, of course, it's running a business, But Lionel didn't care, and Lionel nearly... They do die, but Clark catches the elevator and looking at right Lionel's face, Lionel sees Clark use his powers for the first time. But he do his powers already, like I said in the Cyborg episode, at the end of that episode. He's like, thank you, son. And he goes out and Lex and Lionel was like, you know what, the next moment I told Clark he's with me, next moment he's here. I'm like, I wonder how the elevator is. Like, well, the elevator shaft broke. I'm like, well, since, Cole broke him or something, I don't know, something like that. And then Lionel was like, she's still hanging about that, huh? Lex, Clark Kent is just a normal farm boy. He's just a normal farm boy. He's just a farm boy. Let it go, Lex. Let it go. Overall, it was an entertaining episode to see that there was some good in Lionel and that he does not betray Clark's secret. So, there at this season, I guess you can say Lionel kind of becomes, we'll say, sort of a good person, a path to redemption for him. But not for Lex. But overall, it was a good and entertaining episode. At the end of the episode, though, Clark comes to Lionel and he says, I don't trust you. You stay away from me and my mother. No secret or no secret, I'll come and get you. And you're going to want to wish I didn't save you. So you back off. After that, Lionel was like, as the other visitor is coming back to him and he starts, drawing pictures down. Starts... Then notice he's drawing Kryptonian symbols at the end of the episode. But mostly, really good episode mapping. Alright? An episode called Fade. Clark basically saves the life of a stranger named Graham Garrett. Because him and Chloe are talking about Lionel knowing his secret. Is Lionel going to do something? But he saves the guy from getting hit by a car. He's like, thank you so much. And the cops are taking this witness to protect him. But that guy that Clark saved, Graham, is actually a hitman, but he's a hitman with the powers. Yes, he can disappear, turn invisible, and go anywhere he wants without any evidence. Basically strangles this guy to death and kills him. And overall, the episode, he sends Clark a video game or whatever, like this giant TV in a video game, thanking him. And Clark's like, I appreciate the gesture, but you don't need to do that. He thinks it was Lex at first, sending him a I think in the episode Clark is going to talk to Lex about it, and you see Lex and Lana spending more time together, and eventually, I think it was one of the episodes, maybe a Mercy episode, but the episode they actually share a kiss, and here they actually start kissing, and Clark not walks in them, but basically recording the total, sees them kissing, and is like kind of shocked by it, and heartbroken about it, and Chloe tells him, well, she's a big girl. She can date who he wants without your permission. I mean, Clark, you chose to break up with her. I know fans, I think, have hated Lana for going with Lex, but if you think about it, folks, Clark did not tell her his secret. I mean, he had his good reasons for it. He loves her, but he had his good reasons of why not telling her his secret. But Lana just didn't see it that way, didn't see that he trusts her, and it makes her mad. And he broke her heart, and that's what driven to the owner of Lex. But you could say it's also because she did it to drive Clark mad. Maybe she did it out of anger toward Clark. That could have been really it. But so much she does fall for Lex. And this guy who, has Clark at the party, and Lois tries to date him too. She finds Graham attractive. He sees her working out or whatever. And they said maybe date. And Clark at his party, this woman tries to hook up with him. Beautiful looking woman, by the way. But Clark says no, because he still loves her. I was like, wow, you must have loved your ex more than I thought. So he wants to do Clark a favor by killing Lex. He tries to kill him, tries to strangle Lex. Todd doesn't work. Lex is at the hospital with a gun, trying to protect himself, and Lana's there with him. And Lana, at the episode, tells him about the relationship. Clark does save him from being killed by Graham, Lex, he can't see Graham, starts pow, 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 shooting. Eventually, the bullet eventually kills him. But I forgot to mention, though, there was a funny scene where Lois is taking a shower, and she walks out of the shower naked. You don't see her naked, by the way. But she opens the door, and Clark sees her naked. Clark's like, he's just running. I was like, what are you doing? And I was like, why do you have a problem with giving a guy a date? But overall, Fade was a good episode. He tries to attack Clark at first, but Clark, was able to get his, I'm not the only one with special abilities, huh? Yeah. But Fade was a good episode. Alright, guys. Alright, another episode called Oracle, another favorite of mine. Basically, Clark, they go to a birthday party from him. It's, 2 season tickets to a baseball game with his dad, of course, Jonathan, who just recently passed away. He sees Jonathan, and Fiona was like, son, there's going to be people in danger right now, and you have to kill Lionel Luthor. And I was like, he talks a lot about this. I'm like, why would my dad want me to kill somebody? He talks to Martha eventually. He's like, Martha, how could you date Lionel Luthor? And I'm like, how could you, I want you to be happy, but not with him. Lionel has to die. And you also find out, by the way, spoiler alert, that it is Brainiac, Professor Fine, who, at the end of the other episode, I forgot to mention, I was talking about, I'm not going to look it up, but basically he used all of his other, created double versions of himself around the world. I guess one of the double versions became Jonathan Kent, just to get at Clark. And when Clark finds out that Lionel, of course, has something to do with his father's death, when he confronted him that night before Jonathan's heart attack, he nearly wants to kill him. He almost kills Lionel. He attacks Lionel. He's about to kill Lionel. He was like, no, I was trying to warn him. I was trying to tell him something. As an ally, as a friend. And Clark won't listen until, Jonathan Kent comes and like, I'm your father, Clark Kent. Kill Lionel. Kill him. Until he says, you're not my father. It's like, he uses people, he's like, you're right, Kal-El. Then he attacks, and he finds Brainiac. They fight a little bit until, when the vessel Jor comes back to Lionel, and Lionel touches Brainiac and destroys him, basically. And also, I think in this episode where Fine comes up to Lex, and we use his knife powers, kind of like I said, like Lord Patrick from Terminator 2, is able to, he gives him this injection, which gives him this power abilities of like, when Lex gets this cut, it doesn't work. He sees this like Kryptonian symbol on his arm, which Lex is freaked out about, but he doesn't tell Lana at all. It's a vaccine, basically, he wanted to do for the world. He injects him with his vaccine, which actually this vaccine gives him powers. But anyway, no, we're not powered yet. But Lionel tells Clark about the symbols that he's been seeing, that General Zod is coming, that he needs to trust him now. Yeah, but overall, good episode. Oracle, yeah. Alright, and this is the last episode of this season. It's called Vessel. And Vessel is where Lex is sleeping in the beginning. You see Lex and Lana at the mansion sleeping, and Lex wakes up and is like, and just goes to this cornfield and middle of this field, and Professor Fine, one season he's like, it's time for him to start, it's his time, and he ends up going on the spaceship. There's a lead scene where the other, duplicates of Fine are working on Lex, basically giving him powers like Clark. And when he finds this out, when, Lex, when they tell Clark about it, Clark goes to the Force of Solitude, and Jor-El tells him that, about Zod, that he killed that Zod killed him, that they created a prison called the Phantom Zone for Kryptonians. That was their prison, basically, called the Phantom Zone. In the Phantom Zone, Clark would have no powers at all. So, Superman doesn't have powers in the Phantom Zone. Phantom Zone takes away that. But Zod has been trapped in this Phantom Zone, trying to come out, and basically he needs a vessel to come out, and basically he chooses Lex, because when Lana tries to see Lex, says everything will be okay, like, tell me what's wrong, and Lex is like, Dad, you okay? But he comes to confront Lex confronts Lana about it. He's like, these are my powers, I don't have powers. And I was like, he put the bullet in his hand, he just shoots himself in the hand, and no injury. And he's like, because Lana overhears Clark and Clark about killing him because drugs hasn't been used to kill the person, and Clark is not really sure if he can do that. Could kill Lex. Yeah. Yeah, but Clark does confront Lex eventually. He's like, Lex, this isn't you. And he's like, Clark, I've always been jealous of you. I've always wanted to be you, or to be like your family. I wanted a family like yours, to love your life. Well, at least I love that I got that part of your life. I still your girlfriend away from you. And they have a fight a little bit until Brainiac shows up. And he's also able to use before Clark can try to stab him or whatever, try to cut him. Oh, I forgot to mention though where Lana and Clark have a talk. Clark was like, Lana, you lied to me, Clark, you lied to me. That's why I don't trust you. That's why I don't love you anymore. But Clark, instead of almost killing Lex, throws the knife and stabs it at. Stabs fine with it, basically destroying him. Well, not really destroying him, I guess, but his brain really never goes away in the show. But stabs him, and it brings forth General Zod. It opens up the portal, and the vessel streams up into Lex's body, and Lex was like, Lex. And he's like, name's General Zod. Kal-El. They have a talk, and it's like, you can join me in making this utopia. You can join me, Clark. You can join me, Kal-El. And he's like, no, I'm never joining you. And he basically uses this octen and the Kryptonite symbol shaped like an octen, I'm trying to say. Kind of like a stop sign, in a way. But throws it outside, and Clark gets trapped in the Phantom Zone. Well, I forgot to mention, though, the reason he chooses him as a vessel is because Lana goes, Clark, Lex has always had a dark side deep down in him. I taught him to survive. I taught him how to be ruthless and mean and cruel. That's why he chose him as a vessel. But the world is going crazy. Yeah, like Los Angeles and state's going crazy. The world is just going crazy. Everybody's fighting. People are rioting really bad. And Chloe and Lionel get attacked. And at the end, this is where you get the scene. Of, this is General Zod with a cool jacket on top of Luthor Corp, where when it comes to visit him, says, I know your powers, I respect that, and I love you. And of course, Zod just gives her a kiss. And at the end of the episode, you see Clark trapped in the Phantom Zone. Well, we had mentioned before the episode where Martha, and her new campaign manager, assistant or whatever, Lois, go on a plane and go to this place, but so the guy takes somewhere else, the plane is going to crash, and they pass out on the plane. But at the end of the episode, where Zod, they sent Clark to the Phantom Zone, and kissing Lana at the end of the episode, preparing to take over the Earth, basically, to roll over the planet. Clark, you can see, is trapped in the Phantom Zone. You got the Phantom Zone rolling, and you see him in space, just trapped in the Phantom Zone. And that's the end of Smallville season 5. But anyway, guys, of course I got a couple more episodes to talk about. I know, I'm trying to hurry up. I only got 3 more here, just 3 more. Okay, only 3 okay ones. First, an episode called Thirst. I'll go ahead and get to it. I just thought this was okay. This is where Lana turns into a vampire. Lana pretty much wants to join the sorority, But my favorite thing about this, we have the late Kate Fisher, aka Princess Leia, in this episode. Well, that was funny. She talks to Chloe about being a reporter. She says, you did work up here a while, but then you got fired because I guess you pissed Lana off. I remember that day because we had cake. I thought that was funny. He's like, if you want to be a real reporter, then write me an actual good story. And Chloe actually does that because she wants to work for the Daily Planet. I do like the episode where her and Clark kiss, though. Chloe and Clark kissing, because she still was, you say, in love with Clark in a way. But anyway. Sorry, that's good for waste of time. But anyway, basically, Lana goes to the sorority. These girls were actually vampires, and one of them got from, her name was Buffy, and her and the girls, basically bite Lana, and Lana becomes a vampire, sleeping in the middle of the day and won't sleep in the dark all the time, and acting just very weird. She basically wants to have sex with Clark, but just basically wants to bite him. And, Chloe and Clark want to look after her. Clark dresses up as Zorro, and he says, hey, to one of the girls, like, hey. And they call him Carlos, like, Carlos, come on. Chloe gets bitten. Clark tries to save Lana, but Lana basically attacks him and bites Clark and gives his powers, and decides to, she kills Buffy and says to suck up, his blood just to get his powers, and Clark uses the serum to save her, basically. Basically, he talks to Lex about it because Lex had a, Lex had this cure because they've been working on that LuthorCorp, one of the projects they worked on. But he saves Lana and he want to talk about their relationship, how it's going to work. Alright, an episode called Fanatic. This is an episode where this girl and these two guys, I guess, basically they are Lex fans. This girl is like really obsessed with Lex. She's a fanatic fan of Lex, knows everything about him. She even shaves her head bald because she loves Lex. She kills the two guys. She basically wants to assassinate and kill Jonathan Kent. Basically, she does the same for, basically the followers of Lex. So Lex doesn't support them killing Jonathan Kent. She nearly gets marked up. Lois kidnaps Lois, forces him to kill Jonathan. Makes up a story about it, but she fights back, and they fight, and she's about to shoot her until, Lois takes her down. Overall, that was an alright episode. Yeah, okay. It was just that Lex will become this type of person, but I just thought that was okay. I've seen, a girl kind of, in love with him before. It was a different episode, but I'm like, okay, I get it. But I just thought Fanatic was an alright episode. Okay, I've seen women have an obsession with him before, in the Bound episode and all that. I think it was in season 1, yeah. I'm like, okay, can we please stop having all these women obsessed with Lex? Enough is kind of enough there. But, and then an episode called Tomb, which I thought was alright. This is, to me, with Thirst in this episode, this is just where Smallville goes weird. It just doesn't really fit, in my opinion. It's an okay episode. This girl who died or whatever, she was murdered. Chloe is seeing her, and she gets in the hospital because they think she's nuts. She's crazy. But this girl inhabits her body, by Kryptonite because she's been dead for a long time, and she goes finds the order who murdered her. But she's basically able to get back at this order. I'm sorry if I'm going fast, but I'm going to talk about the episode all day. Yeah. Sure, her name is Gresham Winters. You find Chloe does. I do like it now. Chloe visits her mother. Her mother's been in the mental hospital for basically since she was 12. Since Chloe turned 12 years old, she went there. So Chloe, it was nice to see her go hug her mother at the end, though. But overall, Team was just not an episode. It was just for me. It was I just think Smallville just kind of goes out of place here. I'm like, just really these episodes, in my opinion. Fanatic, I thought, you can say somewhat fits, but Thirst and Tomb, I'm like, I don't know why the writers decided to go blatantly insane with the episodes. I'm like, this is a superhero show. It's not really a supernatural type of show. I never liked that Smallville went down. Even with season 4 with Lana becoming a witch and all that, I'm like, I thought it was just lame in my opinion. I'm like, why? It's just not that interesting in my opinion. I just like this other episode better. I don't hate the episodes though. I just prefer these other episodes out of them. But anyway, guys, yeah, that's finishing up Smallville season 5. So, anyway, guys, what do I think of the show? What I think of Smallville season 5 is, I love this season. Definitely one of my favorite seasons of the show. I probably do like it. I do like it more than season 3 and 4. I'll personally put this one up there as season 1 and 2. I like how Lex and Clark finally become enemies. I think they did that pretty well because it happens right away. Right in the second episode. I do like Lana and Lex falling in love. I think that was interesting. I like Tom Wopat guest starring, and them kind of Jonathan Kent, Jonathan becoming a senator eventually. But him dying, though, I thought that was really sad. That's why I think it's one of the best seasons, because it does a good job of doing that, of a farewell goodbye to Jonathan Kent, and it sucks that he died, but it was just a show. But they played it really well, and it was sadly done. And Clark and Lex finding the futures out, becoming the men that they will become eventually, seeing Lex becoming the evil man that he will become, and Lex and Clark, of course, becoming, Superman in the future eventually. But Smallville season 5 was great in my opinion. Yeah. Just what I disliked though was Tomb and Thirst mostly. Fanatic was just tiring because I'm like another girl who's obsessed with Lex, and I'm like, it's kind of just by now just getting a little tiring in my opinion for me. But Tomb and Thirst, like, it just gets out of place for me. It just doesn't really fit in Smallville. Yeah, Smallville, the weird things do happen, but those are most interesting. But you don't have to add witchcraft in it. You know, I'm like, okay, or supernatural stuff. People, you know, it's not really a horror show. You know, this is a superhero show basically. Clark Kent days before he becomes Superman. So, you know, just going with out of the weird shit that Smallville sometimes does have weird shit in my opinion sometimes. But overall, I'm going to rate Smallville season 5. I put it up there as one of my favorite seasons, but I put it up there with season 1 and 2. And I would say it's better than season 3 and 4 in my opinion. But Smallville season 5, give it a thumbs up. My rating for this season 5 of Smallville is 4 to 5 stars. Let me know, guys, in the comments down below. What do you think of Smallville season 5? And please let me know in the comments down below. Please let me know, what are your favorite episodes of Smallville season 5? Let me know in the comments down below. And next, my next video will be my favorite. Let me go pull my phone up. Yeah, not my favorite. Will be movies I want to see in 2022. I'm gonna do that video here in a while. But before I do that, hold on. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Alright. And next, hopefully next sometime soon, probably right after the movies on season 1 through 2, I'll be doing the next season of Smallville will be my thoughts on favorite shows of Smallville season 6. So season 6 will be next. So definitely look forward to that as we continue talking about this show. Oh yeah, I go all the way. 6th season of Smallville, this will be next. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments down below what are your favorite episodes of Smallville season 5. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Bye.